Welcome to Jamaica. Now, I don't think I could start this week's rant without mentioning the fact that Dave Smith, unfortunately, has died. If you don't know who Dave Smith is, shame on you. But a brief potted synopsis of Dave Smith was he was a synth pioneer. He helped define, along with Roland and Yamaha, the MIDI standard that we've been using for the last 40 years. He was involved as well in the rectification of MIDI 2. He built a company called Sequential. And he ran Dave Smith Instruments, and he built Sequential again, and he's been involved in so many synth designs over the year, including the latest Oberheim OB8X8, I should get that right. So it's a sad week that we've lost Dave Smith, but just recognising that he was one of the pioneers of the industry that I play keyboards in.
Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon.
Okay, despite the fact that it is early evening, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening in Jamaica, it is still pushing 30 degrees. That's why I look like a sweaty mess. So that's where we are. And of course, my travelling companion is here as well. But that's not the reason why you were listening to me. Now, the first thing I just want to clear up is I thought you were broke, and I am broke. Many of you will be wondering why this person who constantly says he's broke is standing in this idyllic place in Jamaica. Well, I thought I should address this because I don't want to be seen as being what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to lead people up a garden path, because I'm not. I am truly broke, and you know, coming away to Jamaica was a thing I really had to question. But I want to be upfront and say why I am actually here. Well, firstly is the divorce settlements, or divorce settlement, and the legal fees has all but cleared me out. Now, this is going to be a temporary thing. You know, it may last. I think it's probably about another year before I get myself back on my feet. It's been really hard. I earn a good salary from the day job, but the divorce left me with a whole load of liabilities relating to investments that were held jointly between me and my ex, and things like mortgage commitments and stuff like that, until I can offload the properties they relate to. And the market in the UK is not particularly hot at the moment. I can't seem to, or the estate agents just can't seem to sell them. So I'm servicing all those liabilities, plus some other asset liabilities that were left for me to manage. But basically, once it all comes out, then we'll have a grand divvy up of what's left, and she'll pay me back, but that's a long way down the line. Anyway, this holiday was booked and paid for by my girlfriend. So the girl I'm currently with pretty much did this for me, and I can't say how much I'm in gratitude. Now, originally we were meant to be here in 2020. Well, we all know what happened in 2020, COVID, and it was kind of a let's go away, because she had just come out of a really nasty divorce. I came out of a really nasty divorce, and we decided that we were going to go, or she decided, should I say, rather than we decided, that we were going to come away somewhere like here, and just kind of let everything go away in the background for 2-3 weeks. That was the idea. COVID happened, and as a destination, Jamaica has only been viable really at the start I think it was probably around March or April this year, Jamaica became a viable location again, because you didn't have to step through hoops on the way out and hoops on the way back. So now that a lot of those travel restrictions have been lifted, we could actually come to Jamaica and use the credits that we had, because basically what we did was we laid over the holiday from 2020, and we had to use it at some point this year, otherwise we would start to lose it. And given how rampant inflation is, we decided that we would use it now, because we're paying 2020 prices, not 2022 prices, if that makes any sense. The beauty of this place is it's completely all-inclusive. So you don't, once you get here, once you step on the plane in London, should I say, until I step off the plane in London again, I'm not paying for anything. Okay, it's completely paid for. So all my food, all the drinks, all the snacks, all the activities, they are all paid for. So I don't have to pay for any of them, which is great news, because I'm broke. So anyway, I just wanted to be really upfront about that. When I say I'm broke, I really am sincere that I am broke. This is something that she's paid for on my behalf, and I didn't want it to make out that I was sort of trying to fib everyone, because I'm not. Anyway, hopefully as my cash flow position improves, we'll get to the position where I can start investing in synths again. There are a number of synths, as you probably are well aware if you watch the Ren and the channel on a regular basis, that I've got my eye on potentially for purchase. So I'm really looking forward to having some money so I can go and buy those. Yeah, the last synth I bought in anger was the Jupiter X, and for that I had to be lent some money to do it, because I didn't have the cash to be able to buy the synth. It's actually come up in a recent question where somebody questioned my stance on the Mk8, and I sort of went back and said, if in normal times I can buy it cash, but would I? There's a different question there. On a slightly different note, and I thought I'd say this about where I am, I've been doing some people watching, and I can say that there are some people here that are the spitting image of some rather famous people. So, number one, we've got Garth from Wayne's World. Number two, we've got President Clinton. No Monica Lewinsky though. We've got a young Abraham Lincoln, and he's bloody tall, this bloke, as well. And there's another guy wandering around here who looks the spitting image of Usain Bolt. But that actually could be Usain Bolt, because he only lives a couple of miles that way. And the last person I saw earlier on today when I was out wandering through the resort was somebody who looked like, and I'm going to get her name wrong, is it Katie Segal, who was in Married with Children, and what was the biker one? Sons of Anarchy. There's definitely her look-alike here as well. Same build, hair, 9 yards. But that's sort of, you know, this is predominantly American resort, I have to be honest. I'm in the minority being English. I've only come across so far about 5 or 6 English couples in the entire resort, and this resort takes quite a lot of people. Anyway, let's move on. So NAMM actually happened this week in Anaheim, Disney country, California. And for those who don't know the geography of this particular part of the world, the convention center is next door to the Magic Kingdom. Originally there was a parking lot. When I first went to Disneyland in California in the 80s, there was a parking lot between the road and the Magic Kingdom. Well, Disney have now consumed that parking lot to build, what was it called? The California Adventure theme park. So now literally from the theme park to the convention center, they're literally on two opposite sides of the road. So one block is Disney and the other block is the convention center. Next door neighbours, all but. And if you think it's a cool arrangement, I would agree with you, because if you get really bored going to a convention at the convention centre, guess what? You can pop across the road and ride roller coasters. That's seriously cool. And if it wasn't synthesizers, I would be doing the same thing. I've been to many a conference where I've actually fallen asleep in the late afternoon. I can assure you that. But this is all about synthesizers. This is the pet subject of the channel. So, and I'll be honest, in previous years, by the last day of NAMM, a raft of news stories would have hit my inbox. So I subscribe to a number of, probably like many of you, a number of blogs and synthesizer related news sites, etc. So there would be a number of things that would have hit my inbox, and I would say, well, that's interesting, maybe I can do a blog about it. That's interesting, maybe I can do a blog about that. But that's not really the case this year. Not a lot of stuff that I would say is interesting has actually hit my inbox. And a number of the commentators, people like Sonic State, for argument's sake, who've been out there, have commented that in normal years there will be certain areas of the convention centre that will be absolutely full of press, and they're completely void of press. So that shows you how low-key this event really is being. In fact, I think a lot of people, in terms of a lot of participators, didn't particularly early confirm participation in NAMM, purely because I think they were trying to weigh up whether they got anything out of it. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of coverage on probably the flagship synthesizer launch in the recent months, which was the Oberheim OBX8. And I'm not going to talk about that because the last couple of weeks on the channel we have talked about the Oberheim OBX8, and I've got nothing really new to say on it at the moment. So let's park that, other than Stevie Wonder was on the booth playing it. That's the only thing I'm going to say about the OBX8. There have also been a whole raft of posts about Guitars and Eurorack. Okay, they're Guitars and Eurorack. Doesn't float my boat, not really what the channel's interested in, so you know what, let's ignore those as well. That gets rid of a lot of the press announcements, believe me. And the other thing that was really a lot of people were speculating about, which is, were Korg going to do something on Kronos and Nautilus? And they have remained very silent on the future direction of Kronos and Nautilus. And I've said many times on the channel that I don't think 2022 is going to be the year that they actually announce anything about Kronos and Nautilus. I think 2023 is when the next game changer will arrive, if it's going to arrive. And there's lots of debate between you guys about whether there is a new game changer coming along, or whether, you know, we're going to have separate devices for separate purposes, and the day of the workstation has gone. I disagree with those people, because I think if the day of the workstation was gone, why is Roland ploughing so much money into this area at the moment in terms of Phantom and Phantom O? So I think the silence from Korg really reinforces something is going to come, but it's not going to happen this year. Okay, the next one that really hit my, or floated my boat really, was the new Rhodes. Now, a new company was launched in February 2022, and I knew it was being launched because I remember seeing the press releases, and they started taking pre-orders. The new company is called the Rhodes Music Group Limited, and just before NAMM, it launched the new Rhodes Mk8. And at a tad under £8,300, it definitely won't be gracing my studio anytime soon. But that doesn't mean it isn't a good machine. It really looks like a beautiful keyboard setup. It's definitely got the tones, from what I've heard, of the original Rhodes, Fender Rhodes pianos when they were there. But I haven't yet played with it. I might see if I can go and play with it at some point, but I can tell you it's just not going to arrive in the Music Tech Guy studio at any point soon. I just don't. A, I don't have the money, and B, if I did have the money, I can find better ways to spend $8,300 on other technology that I would want in the studio. But that's my personal opinion. Now, obviously Rhodes was manufactured by Fender, hence the reason why it was called Fender Rhodes. And the company was purchased by Roland in 1987, and I kind of lost track of Rhodes about that point in time, because Roland bought the technology stack around how Rhodes did their sound creation, and then sampled the nuts out of it. So all those samples of Rhodes pianos that you're getting on your Roland machines now is as a result of what they did back then, and I think over the years all they've done is just resampled it into better and more high quality samples. So, you know, the sample for the S50 is quite a different sample to the sample they've probably got on the Phantom. But that's effectively what they did. And then about 10 years later, the guy was called Harold Rhodes, who invented this particular instrument. Unhappy about the way that Roland were dealing with his instrument, managed to acquire the rights back. The problem was, by 1997, when this happened, he was in quite bad health, and a few years later, in 2000, he died. Now, as a result of that, there was some argy-bargy, I think, and eventually the name Rhodes was acquired by another, I think it was a family member who acquired it, if I remember correctly, and they created a company and they launched the Rhodes Mk8, and that hit the market in 2007. And now, of course, it's been relaunched through a new company because the rights have been purchased by somebody else, which probably means that the previous company that made the Mk8, I suspect, went bust. But there you go. Now, the key, apart from the look of it, which looks very much like a Rhodes, and it's got all the whole sort of Rhodes inscriptions around it, but the key thing that they promoted about this keyboard a couple of times now is the fact that it is 34 kilos. Now, I'll put that into some perspective. I'm 100 kilos, so that's a third of me lighter than previous incarnations. That's I mean, I can remember moving a Rhodes piano years ago, and you know, you needed 2 people minimum to move a Rhodes piano. You could not move it on your own, preferably 3, because you needed somebody to open the door. So, a weight saving of 34 kilos is impressive. I suspect a lot of that is because they've engineered new technology into it, and it's not a complete cast iron frame like the originals were. And I suspect a lot of the weight saving has come from that sort of area, by, you know, making the internal components that were previously metal out of something other than metal. But it still comes with that £8,300 price tag. Hey ho. Okay, that's the end of part 1. I'm not going to make you guys wait a week for part 2. So part 2 will actually be posted tomorrow. But for now, live long and prosper. Bye bye.